assuming that you want PM's own pricing, which we do, how do you structure that discussion? How do you structure that collaboration between sales, finance, your executive, all that kind of stuff? How do you actually do it? We're talking about a pricing collaboration model that may work. I'm not going to say it actually 100% works.
No.
May work.
Let's get to it.
We're going to start by reiterating product management should own the pricing strategy and the research for that pricing strategy. Okay. Sales owns negotiation within defined boundaries. Finance owns margin requirements, revenue forecasting, things like that, right? And then all these boundaries, if they're not clearly defined, which most companies are not at all, which we touched early in the podcast, now you have chaos.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, if none of them are defined, you're in the jungle now.
If you have clear pricing authority boundaries, those categories I just pointed out, you will deliver faster time to market. Your pricing changes will be able to respond more quickly. And because of that, you'll make more money.
Yeah, so the boundaries, I just want to be clear about the message here. We're saying that the boundaries should be clearly defined, but that doesn't mean that they should be rigid. You need to be able to reach across the boundary and speak to the other person in a collaborative manner. For example, finance could lay out the guidance for margin. It's usually a range. Sales would have the authority to swing somewhere in there, but potentially they could sell a system at cost. If it's the big customer, this is your entry product with that customer, etc., because there's a big upside to it. There are many, many reasons why sales would change the actual price that is charged to the customer, but it's an informed decision. It isn't just simply, a random kind of decision that sales made by themselves or finance dictated onto sales or anything like that. Collaboratively, they arrive at a range that would be pitched, but the actual pitch, the actual number would vary based on what sales decide. So you could lose some money upfront, maybe. I've seen that happen in software sales. And then the money's made up afterwards. Or you make very little margin on the price of the software, but you make margin on recurring revenue on support.
Well,
right?
you're already in the Steelman side of the discussion here, which is pricing requires cross-functional consensus. Okay, period, yeah. Right? Requires cross-functional, and I'm not debating any. First of all, this is the best Steelman section that we've ever done on these two podcasts for you. because I'm not debating either of these. As pricing requires cross-functional consensus, number one. Number two, sales needs flexibility to close deals. Okay, look, Steelman is
steal away.
Your Steelman is stolen. He's stolen. I put him in my pocket. I agree with all that. However, if you're going to say consensus models create paralysis, and you're going to say well, if it's everyone's responsibility, it's nobody's. If that's what you're going to say, then I have a big problem with that. You're not Steelmanning at that point. Now you're introducing a bunch of stuff that doesn't need to be introduced into this. You want to set a new pricing model. You want to change the price. You get all the folks in the room that are contributing to this sales and pricing discussion, and we discuss it and we move forward. That doesn't need to be 47 people. Okay, that pricing requires cross-functional consensus. It could be the sales person, the chief executive, and the product manager. Could be the Holy Trinity. I can pull those three people together instantly, basically. So if you're saying well, that's going to create analysis paralysis and there's a diffusion of accountability, I will say completely untrue. Once you make that coalition understands that pricing and pricing structure is a super important thing, just as important as anything else. And we will pull it together and self-organize to get it done. The other one is sales flexibility needs to be within the PM-defined guardrails. So I, as a product manager, if you're saying, well, this customer won't buy unless I build these 5 features and then give them a discount by 95% and do whatever, I'll say, that sounds like doesn't fall into our ideal customer profile and hard pass. Okay.
Yes, I agree with you that it's really not it's not a viable approach. Let's say that. However, there are cases, you could say there are edge cases, but there are cases where sales will undercut what the price should be going into a customer, right? For a myriad of other reasons. Maybe this is the first of several products that the customer would buy from you.
Yes. I'm going to say yes and.
Yes and.
Yes. I'm going to say yes and.
First time today.
I'm going to say yes and the first time today, but yes. But my and really is however. I can't have rogue sales folks. The sale, assuming that we've done our legwork, pricing is an execution of our product strategy. So I'm only willing to flex so far. If you're saying, well, Brian, I'll give them this for free and then we'll get in the door and then we'll do whatever. That's what all those trucking people that I was talking about before, that's what they were doing. Oh, we'll just give them everything for 50% discount for 2 years and eventually they'll love our stuff so much or whatever. That's what all these executives would do. So, and then we give it to them for reduced costs. They'd ask for a bunch of features we spend months with our development team working on to punch out the features, and then nobody will use the software. And then after 1 year, they don't renew. So now that executive has been here for about 20-ish months. About 20 months in, they don't renew, and the CEO just comes to this VP of special projects or whatever and says, like, look, we did a bunch of work for you. You spent this much in development budget, and your guys, they never used a product in the 12 months they were using it. You got no adoption. They obviously bought it with the minimum bare bones of what they could buy to be nice or whatever, and then didn't use it, showed no interest, and then skipped. So like why like those 9 months of development time, 6 months, 3 months, it is like why do in the time it took us to work on those things and sell this customer, yeah, we got a little revenue, but we could have worked on these other things that benefited all of our other customers. And then what comes is a very quiet dismissal of that individual, of the mutual parting of ways. I wish I could tell you how many times I have seen that exact thing go down. It goes down behind closed doors.
It does. I agree with what you say. It happens a lot. I do think that there are cases, not many, but there are cases where sales can sometimes radically undercut the price.
Sure.
Again, for reasons that need to be solid, that need to be shared with the product people as well, because pricing is just one factor in the product. It's not the only factor. An example of this. So you have a brand new product that you're building from the ground up. Nothing like that exists anywhere. Now you have a product that you would like to put into a customer's hands so that you can sell more of it, because no, it's not there. It's not out there at all. Yeah. And a salesperson could say, well, you're our first customer. We're going to get you on. We'll treat you with white gloves. And the cost of entry for you is X. And the next customer will pay 2X or 3X. Is that legitimate? I think it is, because it's really a barrier to entry that they're trying to overcome. There's limits, though, right? They give away the farm. It's kind of like the case you just described where they don't renew. Well, somewhere in there needs to be a proper calibration of what they're doing. So this is not on the product manager. This is in product management. This is directly in sales, between sales and finance. We did this, but what happened? So the gamble that they're making there, right? They need to be very careful with that gamble.
I understand the picture you're painting. I would say that I don't agree. I think product management should be in the middle of this discussion. Here's the way I think about finance. Like, they're experts. I think they just set in the driver's test, they set the cones up. The fact that business comes in and knocks down certain cones or whatever, like, we're going to drive over these cones, a parallel park or a three-way, 3-point turn or whatever. We're going to drive over these and there's nothing you can do. Like, you can judge us, but there's nothing you can do. Again, this is the same as a CEO or like the private equity firm that comes in and takes out a big loan. And is like, this is our loan now. We're going to pay it all back. And the finance people are like, how are we going to do this? Their job.
Is this the Instapot story?
It's basically there were financial people at Instapot that probably recommended we probably shouldn't do a special dividend of all of our cash. And then
every penny.
And then take out a loan for double, triple, whatever it was. Yeah, we probably shouldn't do that. And they're like, cool story, kid. And you know what? We're doing double because I want to get paid. That's like, put that cash in my hand. Again, like, this is the way that I look at the finance folks. It's like, they're a risk indicator. Okay?
Yeah.
But they're not the ones that are telling you, like, oh, no, you can't spend this cash. You can't do this. That's the product manager. Because are they a product manager or are they the backlog admin? Because, again, we're back at this main point. Right? Yeah. Are they the CEO of the product? I'm going to beat that dead horse. I'm going to bring it up every time I can. Or do they just manage the backlog when we need to have adult conversations?
They leave.
Yeah, get out.
Yeah, I mean, on the whole, yes, I agree. But I do think that there are cases where companies will undercut pricing to get into a market or get into a customer just on the promise of future revenue streams.
Listen, I'm 100% down.
So don't pan out.
Again, you convene that pricing group
Yeah.
and you talk about
Yep.
we're going to break our policy because of XYZ, and then we talk about the risks, and then we make a decision, and then we do it. No, that's
But
absolutely
they're in the room
not.
is your point, and I agree with
Right,
that.
yeah.
Sales can't just go out there and deal with customers or prospects, turn them into customers, come back and say, we've made a sale. By the way, we're not making money on this one, but
Correct.
like they can't do that by themselves. But that's how it happens quite often, right? It should be a collaboration, is what we're saying. And I agree with that 100%.
Oh, boy. All right, well, let's pivot to the next category. But before we pivot, I want to say launching your product without doing pricing research is product management malpractice. So get your lawyers. Lawyer up is what I'm saying. It's product management malpractice disguised as speed. Speed to market.
Speed to market.
Move fast and break the law. That's what I'm saying.
You're going to be taken to the cleaners, so lawyer up and lather up.
Yikes. Oh, lather up. I like it. It's a little saucy, but, hey, I'm